from the day Florida State decided to file the lawsuit against the ACC. Their lawyers are going to have their stuff. The ACC lawyers are going to have their stuff. And you can go back to our podcast a couple days after it happened. It just simply started the conversation about what the number is going to be. The ACC didn't indicate anything new on Friday. And I think this is my frustration with this conversation. We're trying to treat every litigation or every legal maneuver as some sort of indicator of where things are going. It's not. It's all part of the larger game that is the same result. What is the final number that the ACC will be happy with and Florida State will be happy with? I don't know that number. You don't know that number. They're currently fighting through it. The only real question that I have, Joe, and I don't think anybody can answer it, we can guess, we can speculate, is who is willing to spend more money in litigation down the line? I think I know my answer.
I would say to you, through all of this, right? The ACC didn't want it to get to this point.
No.
So it was not in their interest to get to this point.
Yeah.
So how they do fight in court in some of these, quote unquote, opening the door and some of those other negotiations, I do see the merit news-wise of why Andy would write about that.
Oh, sure.
Now, the extrapolation of, your mom's going to get mad at me, but the domino theory, right, of communism. Oh, my God. If Vietnam falls, it's over. Oh, my God. The Cubans and everyone else are taking over the world. We're done, right? Okay, guys, let's just settle down, okay? We're not going to extrapolate that if Florida State gets out, then all of a sudden everybody's out, right? Ultimately, I think you and I are on the same page. While ACC is in the court with Florida State, the ACC doesn't really exist anymore without ESPN. So I think the three of them kind of need to get into a room and then you say, okay, what is the solution here? Clearly, Florida State, you don't want to be in the ACC anymore. No. But I've got news for you. We still the ACC, we, ESPN, still kind of own you. So how do we put you in a better position that helps us? Help me help you.
Okay.
Right. And I have more confidence that John Swofford, it never would have got to this point with John Swofford. Right. No. It would have been, hey, why don't you just go over to the Big 12? That way you're still with the ESPN umbrella. We can make something work, blah, blah, blah. We can't wish and hope for what could have happened. I think it's fair to say what Florida State did was a win for them just to get this to court. Agreed. Was a win for them.
Yeah, I agree.
I think now the question is it going to be, like you said, are they going to go down to the last dollar and go, full DEFCON 0?
Yes.
Or is there some sort of compromise that comes in that, quite frankly, the ACC is not going to like, but I think ESPN will like?
Yeah, I put my faith in ESPN getting their way and Florida State ultimately getting their way.
Yes.
Okay. And I know that we have some Florida State people who will listen to our podcast, see what we say. Shout out to War Chant that occasionally picks up on what we talk about. Cool. Appreciate it. Because they're looking for other angles on this. I mean, they literally talk about this every day. And I understand why. And I want to be crystal clear how I feel about this, because I feel like there's been some confusion about me, sticking up for the ACC and all this other stuff. I stopped with that. Once the ACC decided to add those West Coast teams and SMU and not be proactive in college realignment the way they should have been, it was over. It's a wrap. Not to say that the ACC is going to cease to exist. It's just that the ACC that we know, the one that we give a shit about, will cease to exist. And it becomes an individualized, siloed situation for NC State, North Carolina, Duke, Wake Forest, et cetera, right? It's never going to be the same again. And Florida State wants out come hell or high water. And I commend them for this, which gets back to my central question. How much are you willing to spend to do so? And if they're out here talking openly about equity, okay, getting these, essentially going in and doing the thing that has ruined company after company after company to help you get out of these situations with private equity, that shows you the willingness they're going for, right? And that's why I put my money on Florida State to eventually get their way, one way or the other. It might not happen this year, because you got to remember they have until mid-August to announce, hey, look, we're leaving the ACC. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think we have another year of this negotiation, litigation, move to dismiss, move to stay, all the legal terms that get the people going online. But the crux is the same. How much is the price for everybody to get what they want, in the same way that John Swofford and the ACC did with Maryland? And they learned their lessons from Maryland's exit.
They lost that one.
And now you see the repercussions of that Florida State is trying to get out of. Because in this stuff, they opened the door. Yeah, they opened the door in that, hey, man, you want out of the ACC? Here's the price. That's always been the case. If you want to leave, you pay us $500 million and you're free to go. And of course, Florida State financially is screwed that way because it's going to take forever to make that money back. But what's the pain point for Florida State? Is it 30? Is it 300 million? Is it 250 million? Can you make that back quicker? Can you get private equity to fill that out while you are waiting to become whole in the conference that you go to? So there's all sorts of pressure points that these two entities have to deal with.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that much now that we know about this unilateral option that ESPN holds with the ACC network that nobody knew about because they've been blatantly hiding this from the people who are supporting it, which are the taxpayers for all of the public institutions.
Yeah, and that's funny because that's a separate conversation altogether about.
So I would say that they've changed all of the calculus, and that's why I say that the ACC has lost just by this thing getting as far as it has gotten.